Welcome back to another training from Ascension U. My name is John and I am your mental fitness coach. In today's training, we are going to talk about mental fitness for high performance and how you can utilize it to not just help you inside your business, but also help you outside of your business. So let's dive right into today's training. So let's start off with framing mental fitness in a way that makes everything else that follows relatable to you. So it's your ability to regulate your mind, nervous system, and emotional state so you can perform consistently under pressure. I want you to think about it, how we train our mind and how we train our brains, which will be through that, being able to regulate our own emotions. So it's a top-down approach, bottom-up approach, and then a lateral approach, which I'm going to touch on as we progress. So the first key part of it is seeing it as training your mind. Now, one of my favorite things to consider is when it comes to running a business or when it comes to being a high performer or high achiever in any aspect of your life, you have to learn how to train your mind to be stronger than your emotions, because you're going to have things that happen. I'm going to use an example with the call I've just had with one of my clients who is almost at the bottom of their financial situation in their business, and how do they respond when they get into these situations? Like, these are the stressors, the pressures that business owners go through on a daily basis that nobody sees or really thinks about. So your ability to regulate your own emotions and train your mind to be able to overcome that is so important. Training the brain, right? We forget that the brain is a muscle and is probably the most important muscle in your actual body. And it's just the same as it is any other muscle. It grows with repetition and intensity and change. All right, so we're going to touch a little bit on that. And finally, I like to see it as building emotional intelligence. If you're a leader in any capacity, now that we're moving into an AI era where AI is going to take over 40% or 50% of the things that we used to do, your intelligence is always going to be important. Your work ethic is still going to be important. But what's going to be even more important is your ability to manage your mental and emotional state and build emotional intelligence, be able to connect with people, be able to lead people and influence people. That isn't going to change. And this is what most people's minds and brains of high performers actually look like. Why? Because they put so much focus in on their outcomes, they put so much focus in on the goals, the direction they're trying to move, that they neglect to take care of themselves, that they don't train their brain to be able to deal with certain situations. So what happens is there's consequences of that. They don't train their mind to be able to focus on positive narratives or focus on the process instead of the outcome. This is all important stuff when it comes to managing you, elevating your inner game so you can succeed in the outer game. So let's have a look at how it affects your business. So number one would be how you make decisions, right? How you show up every single day in your business. What's the standards that you hold yourself to? That all starts up here. It's not a tactical thing. The attitude that you carry isn't a tactical thing. It's your mindset. What do you do? What's the narratives that start to run in your mind when something goes wrong? When you have a financial situation, when you have an employee situation, when you have a customer problem, when the economy crashes, how do you respond? Are you able to get out of the overthinking, the rumination, the catastrophe thinking, and get yourself back to a space of neutrality where you can actually think clearly and make the higher level decisions? How you influence your team. If you show up in a state that's overwhelmed, anxious, out of control, how do you think that impacts them when they see you in that state? Your state is what creates the influence. You cannot influence someone, their thinking, their feelings, or their behaviors if you're not in the right state to influence them. Because that is what you're going to project onto them. How you lead under stress, right? So 80% of the time probably in business, you're going to be under some form of stress. How do you lead in those situations? Do you only show up at your best when things are running smoothly, or are you able to find that neutrality and actually operate from a place of calm, composure, and confidence when things are not going your way? Home. How do you show up at home? And this is a massive one for the people that I work with. because most of them have had some form of success in their business, but they want to go to that next level. And it's not always just business, it's their home life. What's your marriage like? How are you with your kids? How intentional are you with the time that you have? Do you plan it into your week? Are you proactive in making sure that you have things throughout the year that's going to build anticipation for family? The art of fulfillment is just as important as the science of success. And if you don't enjoy what you're creating, then what are you creating? What is it for if you don't actually enjoy it? And your family don't enjoy it, and you have a life that's worth living. New mindset creates new results. We have to start internal if you want to change things external. Top-down mindset, the stories that keep your life, right? The stories that drive your life. So we're starting with a top-down approach, which is top-down mindset and mentality. These are the stories that drive your life. Those of you who've worked with me or followed my content will know we focus on 3 key things. You got to know your story. What is it? What are the patterns that you currently run? You got to change your story. What is it that we want to insert instead and create new patterns and habits around? And then we have to train that into our nervous system and into our subconscious so it becomes the new norm, right? Identity and transformational level change. Starts with a vision. If you don't know what's at the top, then what are you aiming for? How do you filter what's a good decision or a bad decision? How do you decide what inputs are going to get me the output if you don't know what it is you're moving towards? And I'm not just talking about a business, I'm talking about the life that you want. Because if you want to live a certain lifestyle a few years from now, the decisions you make today are going to reflect that. They're going to have a massive impact on that. So we need to know what's our vision. Where do we want to be 5 years from now? What do we want our life and business to look like? What will my role be within the business? What type of team do I have? What type of environment do I have? What type of culture do I have? Ask yourself these high quality questions. What will my spouse be doing? How many times a year will we travel? What will be our monthly income? Start with a vision and then build down. That one is, it's just super important, right? And most people miss it because they want to go straight to business tactics and strategies, but you got to get yourself in the right place. You got to build a vision. You got to know, okay, now I need to create a system that helps manage, elevate, and optimize me, which is what we call a life management system inside of Ascension OS. Next, we have our brains, right? Like I said, training the brain. I use Neurovisor, which I don't have on hand, but it's basically a brain training device that I'm also a partner of, and happy to share an affiliate link with you if you want to get access to the visor. But for me, it's been a game changer in terms of regulating my nervous system. It's been a game changer in terms of training my brain. It uses light and sound to basically create new patterns in your brain. Super, super interesting, super, super convenient because the sessions are 5 to 11 minutes. Affirmative habits. This one is massive, right? So what am I trying to do? What's the change I want to create within myself and in my brain and in my mind? What are the habits that are going to take me there? And start off with the smallest habits possible that are going to create momentum for us, because momentum is contagious. And finally, emotional intelligence. How you manage your own emotions. And we just touched on that in terms of how important that is for a business owner. How you influence others' emotions, human to human connection. That is never going away. We might have AI, we might have robots, we might have all of these things that are coming into our world, but your ability to communicate and influence and get the best out of other human beings, elevate other human beings, impact, inspire, that's where you get into business, right? Is to serve. That's not going to change, and emotional intelligence is key. You have 5 key areas. We also run an assessment. If you want to take the assessment, message me on at official John Keane, and I'll send you over the emotional intelligence assessment. Takeaways, a couple of key things for you to take away. Your job is to manage, elevate, and optimize you. That's your job. As the entrepreneur, as the business owner, as the leader, your job is to manage, elevate, and optimize you. So you can perform, lead, and succeed consistently using a top-down, bottom-up, lateral approach. Principles over tactics. These principles that I teach around mental fitness, around mindset, around performance, these are related to any area of your life that you want to apply them. If it's your business, if it's your relationship, if it's your leadership, it's your own health, it's your own spiritual journey, they work in any area that you choose to be intentional with them. that is it for today's training. If you want to take the assessment, emotional intelligence assessment, drop me a message. If it's on Facebook, you just comment below. And if it's on, you're watching on YouTube, just send me a message with emotional intelligence or EQ to at official John Keane on Instagram. All right, so that's it for today. Be well, and as always, ascend higher.